So I haven't done one of these in a while, but it's probably kind of important to occasionally remind folks that I do have a Patreon. Not to get too into specifics here, but generally speaking, I don't have a lot of money. I have a pretty sizable amount of college debt, and then the nature of my main employment is a seasonal one. So a few months out of the year, I'm technically unemployed. Obviously, I have options there, but none of which are really all that well paying. So it's this time of the year that any means of income is incredibly important. Things like this here Patreon. I would love to be able to say that this money always goes directly back into the channel and I end up upgrading gear and just all that sort of stuff that ideally that's what happens with Patreons. But no, Patreon is, for me, and a lot of people out there unfortunately, is just another means of income in hopes of staying afloat. So that said, I would obviously greatly appreciate anyone who can give anything. The current version of my Patreon is undergoing some changes, but some things that you can guarantee is that it is a per project donation. If you are able to donate, a couple things that I have going on right now is that I have 2 tiers. The first of which is a $1 tier. It's just entry level. Thank you for donating. Also, here are some extra written blog-like posts that I throw up every now and again. For example, it could be something like a Deathloop review, or some random thoughts on an anime that didn't make it into a video or whatever. For the $5 tier, that is the one that's making some changes. So one thing I changed a few months ago actually was the ability for people to pay $5 and say, hey, watch this anime. And there are some rules around that. There's no, don't suggest all of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. You know, be reasonable in your suggestions. And with that, I can guarantee some sort of response in my thoughts about that. At the very least, I will put up some form of blog post with a few hundred words, at minimum, about my thoughts on the show. So I did this recently. If you were to look at my Patreon, I already put up the first one a little while back. Now, maybe I like the anime so much or I have so much to say about it that I end up making a video on it or including it somewhere in a video. Who knows? Guaranteed you will get some response though about what I think on the anime you suggest to me. You'll be able to suggest an anime every 6 months currently. If it gets to be too much, it might just become you suggest one thing a year sort of deal. And with that, I'm trying to think of what else to put at that tier, another small bonus. Prior, I had some behind-the-scenes videos that would just be like a couple minutes of me talking into the mic about my thought process on the most recent video I had published. I wasn't really getting a lot out of those. They kind of end up being very samey, so I'm not going to do those anymore. But I'm going to try to think of something else, something small and more manageable, and I'm open to suggestions. So that's the Patreon. Very simple, donate what you can, greatly appreciated. I don't have a lot of money, and this would help me. Now, other changes. So you might have noticed I have a new avatar. I commissioned @NutMargaret on Twitter to make this fine avatar for me. It stands out a little more, I feel like. Other things that I've changed is that I'm now including content and spoiler warnings in every video from here on out. Might go back and add some into older videos. Depends on if I get to them. So with these content and spoiler warnings, there'll be a message at the bottom of every video at the very start. Just, hey, heads up if you don't want to get spoiled, or if you're worried that the video might talk about something that maybe you're just not in the mood to hear about. Totally understandable. I'll include those details down in the description of every video. And of course, if people notice something I may have missed, I might not have considered everything. You're more than welcome to leave a comment. Tag me in that comment on the video itself, and I will update content and spoiler warnings as I see fit. I have also, thankfully, been able to spend a little money on the channel lately, though that is changing. As I mentioned, I'm going into my months of unemployment technically. More minor stuff currently, like I have my mic on a mic arm now instead of just plopping it on the desk in a different spot every time I try to record a video and trying to remember the exact angle of it and everything so that the audio is consistent. And then it picks up the vibrations from the desk, and yeah. There are other things like I've upgraded some of my hard drives. I have an SSD now, so that makes editing a little quicker. I'm also making more of an effort to learn all of the aspects of Premiere, because most of the time my edits are pretty simple because I don't have a background in video editing. And finally, in regards to content, always kind of adapting and changing things and running with different ideas and then changing my mind on them. One thing I have kind of come to the conclusion on is that not every video needs to be a big video. I'm not even speaking directly in terms of length, though that definitely is a factor here, but also like I can have more casual content and I'm not getting into anything too deep or heavy. If I just feel compelled to talk about an anime or a game or whatever, and I don't have some big meaningful statement about it, that's fine, as long as I'm still excited to talk about the thing. I think that's all that really matters. So yeah, that's the gist of things. More updates on the Patreon to come. Looking for suggestions on that $5 tier if anybody has any small ideas. But again, if you want to donate, if you can donate, don't feel you need to. Do it only if you can, and it would be greatly appreciated. You get some little bonuses here and there. And if you give me $5, you can yell at me to watch some anime that I've never watched before and you think I'm crazy for not doing so. So yeah, thank you to anyone who has donated at all over the course of this channel and for any support in general that you've been able to give me. Even if it's just leaving a comment telling me that you really like my stuff, it does genuinely mean a lot to me.